All right, everybody. I'm excited to try out this solo mode that I came up with. My hat's off to all those who have tried their own version. I'm new to the game, completely new to the game, so I try to go in to this project without really being too influenced by the other versions that are online. But I imagine that there are various different ways that you could attempt this. This just happened to be the way that I thought worked particularly well. I've tried it out a few times in terms of playtesting solo. I've made some modifications. I think the version I'm on right now is one I'm pretty happy with. So let's take a look here at the two characters that are going to go up against one another. Here we have Sakura, and I am going to be controlling her, and then the AI will be controlling Karen. Sakura has a health of 23 with a move of 3, and Karen has a health of 22 with a move of 3. So I've already determined that I'm going to go first this time around. If I were to play another round, I would probably have the AI go next. So the player turn goes the same exact way that you would expect if you were going up against another person. In my hand, I have the flower kick, which is a strike. I have another flower kick. Then I have 3 events, 2 of them being focus attacks, and one of them response. Wow, that was cool. Do it again. Now, I won't go through all of them as in each turn, but I wanted to kind of give you a sense of what I'm going to try to do in my first turn, right? A pretty standard move I've seen people try on the first go is they move up their full speed, in this case 3. And then what I would do after that is I would decide based off of the cards I have in front of me if I need to use another action for a move or if I'm going to try to do something from there. When it comes time for the AI to defend, there is a procedure that is followed that basically will determine whether they're going to draw from the battle deck or the defense deck that the AI has. So looking at my cards, I have 2 that are within 2 range. I'm not able to use those currently. And then another 2 that are also from 2 range. So it looks like my best bet is going to be to move her into position where I can pull off one of those actions. I won't be able to pull off 2 actions this turn, or at least not 2 attack actions, I should say. Focus actions are going to work really well in this game against the AI, namely because you pretty much know when they're going to block. They're going to block. They're going to use the block action, or sorry, they're going to block to defend only when they have already taken damage from an attack that turn. So since that hasn't happened yet, we know that Karen is going to try to counter this time around. So if I try to play a focus attack, it's not going to be good, right? Because I'm not going to be maximizing my attack. So it looks like my best bet here is going to be the flower kick. I'll put it down here so you can kind of see what it is. It's going to be within range 1 to 2. It's going to be a strike, and then it's going to, if it works, potentially lead into a combo, which obviously I do not have a linker here, unfortunately. And then it would potentially cause a knockback 1, and I'm seeing those rocks. That looks really good if I could get her, to cause her to knock into one of those rocks. And mix up, so if there were a roll, which I know there won't be because she's going to try to counter this time around, then I think my best bet is to also try to get that edge bonus as well, which is a +1 attack die at range 2. So I'm going to go ahead and use one of my 2 actions to move 3. I'm going to go, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go here. And I am within 2 range, so I can take my 3 dice +1, have those ready in case Karen doesn't successfully counter my attack. Now, here's the thing. As I've been playing different versions, different iterations of this, I started off by just drawing the top card of the AI's battle deck to determine whether the counter is successful or not. What I found is that, that yes, that can sometimes work, but I found that it's more challenging the more cards you take from the top of that deck. So I've devised a medium difficulty, which is taking the top two cards and then seeing if one of those matches the attack card played by the player. Another way, and then I could even make it harder, right? So I have a hard difficulty that I have in mind for, like, if I do like a little tournament where I face maybe 3 or 4 opponents on my way to becoming a world warrior. I might increase the difficulty, right? So my first opponent might be set to easy, my second opponent might be set to medium, and then my third opponent would be like the boss, right? Or the final opponent, and that could be on hard. And what that would entail is revealing or taking the top. I try not to use the language revealing because that has a very specific meaning in this game. But taking those top 3 cards from the top of the deck, revealing them, seeing if one of them is a strike. As you can see, the probability increases as you are taking more cards from the top. So in this case, I'm playing it on medium. So I'm going to have her face her rival here. And what I do then is I'm going to look at my little chart. Obviously, as I get faster at this, I'm going to start recognizing, what the steps are, the sequence is, and it's going to go by super fast. By now, without me narrating, I've gotten the games down to about 20 minutes because I can very quickly, react and act and et cetera, et cetera. So in this case, I'm going to take the top 2 cards from the battle deck, right? Because she's going to try to counter. She hasn't taken damage this turn yet. And these are the top 2. And it looks like both of them are a strike, right? Both of them are a strike. So in this particular case, Sakura's attack did get countered, okay, which is a bummer, but it's good to be challenged, right? You don't want things to play out too easily. Otherwise, it gets stale really, really fast. So, of course, you now resolve the counterattack, which says place your character, in this case, it's the AI, in a space adjacent to the attacker and throw them 2 spaces, right? So now, basically the rule is to be as mean to yourself as you possibly can. So throwing her into the tree, so it says place your character, in this case Karen, right, the opponent, in a space adjacent to the attacker and throw them 2 spaces. So here it looks like Karen is probably going to be most benefit from moving here. And then my understanding of collisions is that the moment that they get knocked into something, they are going to stop their movement. So in this case, she's going to throw her into this tree, and this tree is gone. And then, of course, that would cause 1 damage. Okay. Now, if you haven't already downloaded that very, very cool app, the health tracker and meter tracker, please do. It's amazing. Right now, all my devices are pretty much being used up. So I'm just using the little boards that came with the game, which, they're serviceable, but they're not great. Let's be honest. But I'm pretty happy with the rest of the game. So, I'm not going to complain. Okay. So then I would take those 2 cards that were drawn for Sakura, and I'm going to discard those. And then I'm going to discard the one that I just played that got countered. Those were my 2 actions, right? A move action and then after that was my attack action that failed. Okay, so now it is the AI's turn. So the AI has it pretty easy in terms of, I try to make it fairly straightforward so that there isn't a lot to kind of muddle through as I'm going through here. So what I am going to do as the AI, or what the AI is going to do really, is look at the action check. And just the first time I want to remind myself, okay, the AI has 2 actions to spend on its turn. Actions may be spent or lost. Now, what's interesting about that idea of losing an action is that there's certain mechanics I've built into this that aren't worded as spending an action. They are worded as losing an action. And the end result is ultimately the same, right? The AI would have fewer actions from which to draw in order to perform an action, right? So, but I felt that it was important to have that distinction because spending implies that you're choosing to do something. Losing implies that there's some sort of consequence or punishment, okay? So then I look down at the next two items here for my action check, and one tells you that if there is not enough meter to perform an ultra, and the other one if there is enough meter. So obviously it's early in the game, there's not enough meter, so this is what Karen is going to do. The AI spends one action to draw a card from the AI battle deck and plays it face down, okay? So this goes pretty much the way that you would expect a typical round to go. Now it is my turn as the player to decide if I'm going to block or if I'm going to try to counter. Now, it's early yet, right? And so I don't quite know, right, what Karen's going to be playing here. I hope I drew from the right deck. We'll find out right now. But I think this early, I'm going to block, right? I don't quite know what cards have already been played. And usually that helps you kind of play the numbers game a little bit if you see that there are already lots of specials or lots of projectiles in the discard pile, then it helps you to kind of determine, oh, it's probably going to be a strike next, right? Probability-wise. So I'm just going to block. But I anticipated the tendency that people might have to play it a little bit too safe, given the fact that you can't read an AI that easily. And so I do have the mechanic here of block tokens. You start off with 4. Why 4? I don't know. I thought 4 was a reasonable number, but the nostalgic gamer in me remembers going to the arcade, playing a game, running out of quarters and going to get change at the change machine. And I thought 4, let's use quarters as my block token. So here's my quarter to signal that I'm going to be blocking. I put my little 2 block dice there just to remind myself, okay, after this is revealed, right, we see what Karen does. It says attack 3, charge 1. Now, we want to maximize the amount of damage that the AI does to us. Okay, so if there's potential for Karen to cause collision into an object or into a wall, then she's going to try to take it. Here, it doesn't seem like there's going to be, but you can see that that there is a little bit of charge available here, knockback. So if she charges in this direction, it'll bring Sakura to the edge of the map, and then the knockback would knock her into the wall. So this looks like a good place, right, for her to be positioned. Okay, and then it also means that she herself will not be close to a rock or anything like that. So let's give it a go. So she's going to roll 3 attack dice. She's going to charge 1 in this direction. And then there isn't a linker, so if there was, there'd be a potential for a combo, okay? So there's 3, and we see right there that there are 2 fists, okay? Now, because Sakura decided to block, we roll those block dice. We got 1 meter and 1 shield. All right, so let's keep track of that meter. And then we have 1 block, so it looks like 1 damage it has been caused here. So now from that earlier throw, that collision from that throw, plus this damage from the attack, she has taken a total of 2. Okay, not too shabby for this early in the game. Okay, all right, so now we remove that. We put this in the discard, and now she gets her second. And then the knockback, right? Almost forgot the knockback. So now that puts Sakura now at 20 defense, okay? All right, so second action. Just going to take the top card from the AI battle deck. Now I can look at the one that had just been played as special, and I can, suspect, okay, might be another special. It could be a projectile. I don't want to press my luck too much. But I only have 2 strike cards in my hand. Actually, 1 strike card in my hand. You know what? Let's go for broke, right? So I'm going to play a strike card, hope that this is a strike card, and it is in fact a strike card. So now I have successfully countered. Now, the rules I came up with says that I will place the opponent that attempted to counterattack 2 spaces away, right? And this was a conceit that I added simply because, let's say, for example, that they are revealing their card from, like, I don't know, 5, 6 spaces away. It doesn't make any sense if my character is the one, rushing, the one that attempted to attack. So it makes a lot more sense if it was the AI that essentially is being hit mid-movement. And so that's why placing 2 away is the decision I've made there. And then it says place your character in a space adjacent. Place your character in a space adjacent to the attacker and throw them 2 spaces. And so, well, I get to place, if she's here now, I get to place Sakura adjacent. And now my understanding, and I could totally be wrong here, but hopefully I am right. I guess I could do it like this, if just in case, or like this, just in case I am wrong. But my understanding is that it's from your space, right? So from my space, so I'm going to do it like this, actually. And if I'm wrong, somebody can let me know. But I'm going to throw her 2 spaces, right? And then I draw a card, right? So I remove that tree. Okay, she stops because that tree is a collision, and so you stop right there. And so she takes 1 damage. Okay. And what's good about that is I preserved my block tokens, because there is a punishment, right? When you run out of your block tokens, I wanted to kind of mimic that effect that happens in games, like some of the Street Fighter games, where if you block too much, there's like a little block gauge, and eventually you can no longer block, right? And you're kind of punished for that. And in this game, what that would entail is the opponent, the AI opponent, or whoever's fighting against the person the character who just ran out of block tokens, that the opponent gets an extra action that turn. So that can be pretty brutal. Okay, especially for the AI, since it does get so much movement in this game, right? It gets to move quite a bit more than we do. Okay, and we human players. All right, those were the 2 actions, right? The first one was there was a little bit of block, and then the second one, there was actual counter. Okay, now for the rest of them, for the rest of the rounds, I'm going to go a little bit faster. Now that I've kind of gone through some of the basics there, and so let's go ahead and start my turn with Sakura. I'm going to draw 2 to add to my hand. I can now move up to 3 because of her speed her movement. And I'm going to look at my cards. And again, if you remember, I do have a couple of focus attacks, but I want to use those after Karen has taken damage in my turn. So it doesn't look like she's done that yet. Okay. So let's see. So there's some combos potentially. Nope, not really. I only really have 1 good card to play right now. So I would play it face down. Okay, obviously my opponent doesn't need to see the cards to to play the counter. And the 2 that are drawn for the counter are a special and an event. So obviously the event doesn't help at all, but it is a special. Womp womp. So another successful counter from the AI. So in this case, place your character in a space adjacent to the attacker, deal 2 unblockable damage. So in this case, looks like Karen will probably want to move here, right? So again, trying to get away from that tree so it doesn't get hurt later. And then it deals 2 unblockable to Sakura. So poor Sakura is now at 18 to Karen's 21. Okay. All right. And now she still hasn't taken damage. So my focus attack is not going to be useful. Okay, it's still not going to be useful because she's going to continue to try to counter as long as she has not taken damage. Okay, so that gives her a little bit of an advantage here. Okay, and the part that says draw a card will not take effect because, well, there's no need. Okay, looks like I was supposed to draw a card when I countered the strike earlier. So I'll go ahead and draw an extra card here just to make sure I have that like I should. And thank goodness I did, because now I do have another attack option. Okay, so here is really the only thing I have that I can do. I would be playing it face down, and now Karen plays 2 face up. Okay, another event is in there, and strike, and it's a strike. So she countered me again. And you can see that when it's 2 cards, it is much tougher than if it's just a single card, right? Because you're increasing the chances. And once it's 3 cards, that's even tougher. So there is actual potential to lose. Whereas I found that when it was just taking a single card from the top to try to counter, I was winning matches like with like 15 health left, right? Whereas this way, I've won a couple, but I've actually lost quite a few as a result of just how much punishment I suffer at the hands of successful counters. Okay. All right. So here, again, place your character in a space adjacent to the attacker and throw them 2 spaces. Okay. So in this case, I'll just have Karen go there. She'll throw her here. Okay. And again, I'm pretty sure this is right. The wording on the original glossary said if the attacker deals one or more sorry, that's the throw X part. There's different types of throws, obviously. This one is just a throw without an attack. It says move the defender X spaces away from their space in a straight line. Their space, when you look at the errata, it looks like they've revised it to be clear that what they meant by there is actually the attacker space. Okay, so that's why I'm playing it that way in case anybody is confused about that. And again, if I'm playing it wrong, I'm okay with that, right? I'm playing a robot. Like, it's not gonna get upset at me for making a mistake. Okay, all right. So that does cause 1 more damage to poor Sakura. Okay, all right. And if you pronounce it Sakura, that's fine too. I'm not super well versed in Japanese names, so it sounds prettier to me, Sakura. All right, so let's go over here with, let's see, that was my 2 actions. Both of them were countered. Okay, so not having a good day in that regard. I look at my hand. I do have an event card that I could play as a response. So I'll keep that idea in mind as I go into the next AI turn. Okay. All right. So let's continue here. Pretty straightforward stuff. Karen here is going to face her opponent. She's going to drop her card, right, to try to attack me. All right. Okay, I drew a pretty cool card here. This is going to be something I can help to explain right now. But what I drew is a bait. Normally, I would not be able to, or normally I wouldn't necessarily be happy that I got a bait or played it this way. But I did rewrite the wording for, or actually I changed the entire cards, right? There are 4 baits in everyone's deck, every character's deck. And what I did is I revised it so that it's actually a parry, right? That was one of the things that I liked about the Street Fighter 3 iteration of the game. And I was never good at parrying, so it feels very satisfying to be able to pull it off in this game. But this is what the new wording is for this card. Response. And then in brackets, play this card as a reaction to a face-down attack played against you if the attacker is within 2 spaces of the defender. And then here's the actual effect. When the attack is revealed, if it is not a focus attack or a super, cancel it and gain 2 meter. Okay, cancel it and gain 2 meter. If it were a super or a focus attack, then it would automatically become a block, right? Remember that supers can only be blocked by what is it, bonus dice or boost dice as they refer to them. Whereas focus attack could be blocked with regular dice plus any event cards that have the little 2 defense in the top corner. Okay, so that means I actually gained 2 meter with Sakura. So now she is at 3. All right, and then it cancels this. So that was fortuitous, because if not, I'd be up a creek here with, sustaining so much damage. All right. Okay, so now Karen is undeterred. She is going to try again. She's going to play this card, right? Normally it would be face down, but honestly, I can't do anything but block. I should have already mentioned that. I don't have any attack cards in my hand, so I have to use another token for my 2 defense dice. So I'll just put them here just to indicate that I'll be defending. And if Karen had any EX, any meter, she would automatically use it for EX attacks. It's just the nature of this game. I wanted it to, to maximize damage. Always, trying to be as mean to the human player as possible here. But she does have to be 2 spaces to 4 spaces away. So if we look at the movement, the AI movement here, this is resolved in step 3A, right? AI moves its character up to its move value. This does not cost an action, okay? Now, if she were super far away, and then, then there needed to be 1 more additional movement, then she would have to lose an action, right? There's the term lose, in order to get into range. But in this particular case, she just has to move 1. Although, looking at edge, she would get a bonus if she were a little farther away, right? So, again, she's going to try to get into a place where she's not going to hurt herself, or, potentially hurt herself much, right? Or leave herself prone to being thrown into a tree or a rock. It's kind of challenging because they're all around. So she is going to go here, right? She's going to use her movement from her AI movement here. And she's going to use this projectile to roll 2 attack dice. Oh, actually, I want to be farther away, don't I, to get edge. And so 1, 2, 3 is way over there. Yeah, let's try it. This is pretty good. Okay, again, it's close to that tree, but we also know that she's not going to be countered because Sakura chose to block, okay? All right, so I almost picked up my block dice first, but I want to use my attack dice first. Okay, 3 fists. Oops, sorry, 3. Normally you'd want to roll all 3 at the same time, but gained 1 meter for Karen. Okay, and then let's see if there's any block. Wow, okay, no block there. So 3 more damage coming through. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now we're at 14 to 21. Okay, clearly it's an uphill battle today. All right. Okay, and that was the second action, because remember the first one was negated with parry. Okay. All right. Back to the human player's turn. I'm human today. Oh, actually, darn it. I should have played one of my event cards. That's okay. It's hard to narrate and play at the same time, but that's okay. I'll hang on to it when I'm in dire straits. So I will draw another 2, right? And at the beginning of my turn, I could now move for free. And all right, I'm going to move here. And I dare her to try to counter me again. I dare her. Let's see. So she draws 2. I'm going to use EX potentially if I don't get countered. Countered, right? The special. Darn it. So in this particular case, it says place your character in a space adjacent to the attacker. So she's going to try to get farther away from that tree, farther away from anything really, and then deals 2 unblockable damage to poor Sakura. So 13, now 12. Okay. And you might be thinking to yourself, oh, that means Karen's going to go through her deck a lot faster. Yes, that's true, but the timeout mechanic actually has to do with how quickly the defense deck runs out. And there are still 10 cards there because there has not been much luck in the attack department today against Karen. Okay, well, let's see what happens here. Let's try one more special. One more special. Okay, let's see if this has any more luck. And now, projectile and event. Yes, thank the Street Fighter gods here that I can actually pull off now my attack. Except I just noticed that I have to be within 2 range, right? I have to be within 2 range. So what does that mean? It means that I wouldn't have been able to play this. I'm going to be kind of nice to myself here, right? And I'm going to simply, let's see, what should I do? I guess I could substitute it for a legal card here. I know that there's an actual directions for what to do when you play the wrong card. Especially since now I've seen what the top 2 cards what are for this deck. So you know what? I'm just gonna play the focus. I blew it. I screwed it up. But here it says, if the defender blocked, this event deals 4 damage. Reduce hits as normal from the block roll. Otherwise, just cancel this event, right? So boo. I basically threw away a really good card that I was hanging on to because it would have been an automatic 4 minus a defense roll. But I can't seem to put a dent in Karen. Okay. All right. So in the future, I might keep that in mind, and I might think to myself, I really ought to consider. I'm going to move the board a little bit here because I could see poor Sakura's kind of cut off there. All right. I may have overcorrected there, but hopefully you could see her a little bit better. Okay. All right. So at least, those 2 cards. At least those 2 cards go into the discard for Karen. All right, I think I did overcorrect a little bit. Let me try to correct this once more. Okay. So one, if I remember correctly, one was canceled and the other one was technically canceled as well because I misplayed there. Live and learn. I'm going to slowly get better at this game. I have more of a background in HeroClix. That was my miniatures game for 10 plus years. And now I've tried my hand at other games and been pretty happy with this one so far. All right, so now it is Karen's turn one more time. She's going to take that top card. I don't really have any. Actually, I do. I do have one card I could play so that I don't go through my block tokens that quickly. Let's try a special. See if she's got a special. Yes. Okay. Haha. 2 can play at that game, Karen. So I was able to counter, place your character in a space adjacent, deal 2 damage. This one will hopefully get me closer to being able to throw her at some point into one of those rocks. Or I guess I could even put here and then I'd have the tree, the lantern, and the rock as potentials for a throw later, okay? Or I could be thrown. All right, and then it says 2 damage. So now Karen is at 19. Okay, and I can then draw 1 card. Nice. I'm going to need that, okay? All right. This was actually really good because I was able to draw a parry card, bait, a parry card. So I'm not so scared, right? Because right now, again, I don't have to use my block token because I just drew a parry card from that. And so I get to cancel this strike and gain 2 meter as a result of that as well. So 1, 2. Okay. All right. It's moving along pretty quickly here. Now it's back to me. I draw 2. Okay, so earlier I was kind of screwed by not paying careful attention to my hand. And let that be a lesson to everybody. Always look at your hand to see what your next card is going to be and what range you need to be at. In this particular case, I've got choices. And I'm going to try this one. Okay, I'm going to try this one. The flower kick. I think I had success with it earlier, or maybe not. Maybe I failed, in which case, let's try again. Oh, she countered it with just that first card. If it makes me feel any better, she would have countered the other attack I could have played because I also had a projectile I could have played. So here, place the character in a space adjacent to the attacker and throw them 2 spaces. So here, she's going to go here. She's going to knock her into that tree, right? Really, really mean 2 spaces. Okay. And that means Sakura is now at 11. Okay. Boy, oh boy. All right. Well, I still am waiting to be able to use that other focus attack I have, but I still cannot successfully land a hit on Slippery Karen here. So I'm going to try, now I actually can, a quick Hadouken, edge 1 attack die at 3 range. Unfortunately, I can't use that, or at least I don't benefit from that. So I get my 3, and she still gets to try to counter. So there's a strike, and the second card is a special. So yes, I'm able to pull it off now. Okay. So unguarded, I roll 2 dice only. No EX on this one. Right? Because it's not yellow. Okay. 2 damage. 2 damage. I'm okay with that. Right? It could have been worse. 1, 2. So 17. And then I get to discard this one. That was my second action. The first one was countered. But you can see, like, even against the AI, there's quite a bit of movement here, right? You might have worried that with AI, it could be kind of dumb and you're kind of stuck in the same spots and there's not a lot of movement. But between the countering and things like that, there are some things to keep track of, obviously. And once you kind of play a few of these against the AI, you start to pick up on those mechanics that are specific to my version of the solo mode. Like, for example, if you successfully counter the AI and placing them in the right place and things like that, those are things that you might forget the first couple of times. And let's be honest, it's not that big of a deal. But ultimately, once you get the kind of feel for it, it's going to go by really, really fast, right? So we're going to try to wrap this up in the next 10 to 15 minutes, okay? All right, so those were the 2 actions, and now Karen is back up. She plays that card face down. I don't have very much except for, let's see. I think, yeah, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna have to block because I really don't have, my hand management has been very poor. I've not been drawing cards. I've been getting countered very, very often. So I've been trying to, do multiple attacks per turn, and it hasn't really worked to my benefit. So I'm just going to turn in my 3rd block token, okay? And that means I'll put my little 2 block dice here. All right. And we'll reveal and it is a special. Okay, so here she's going to charge, and it says edge, one attack die when the defender is adjacent to an object or wall. Okay, I assume that's when the at the beginning of the attack, right? I can't imagine that would be after the resolution of an attack. So yeah, so it looks like that because you're checking right at that particular moment if you meet that requirement. Okay, so if the defender is, and clearly Sakura is nicely, in the middle of the field, near where there was a tree before. Okay, or where there was a tree before, but near other objects and walls, but not adjacent to one. So she's gonna be able to charge too. So she's gonna try to get in a position, right, with her free movement that she gets, right, as part of step 3A. And that way she'll be able to charge and collide into that wall. Okay, so let's do that. Charge, boom. She's going to be off the map, off the screen for a little bit. Okay, and then let's roll those 3 dice from Karen. Okay, 1 fist, 1 meter, and 1 shield. So not a very good attack. So should be fairly easy to block. And sure enough, right, I got 1 block there. So she whips. Okay, now if I had something to punish that, which I do, right, I've been hanging on to this focus attack, and it says play when an attacker whiffs after attacking you, deal 2 unblockable damage to you. So 2 can play at that game, Karen, right, of damaging the opponent during their own turn. So let's not forget to give Karen that meter that she earned on that previous attack. Okay, all right, so that was the first attack. The collision still occurred, so I'm gonna play it that she did get knocked into that wall, and so she will take that damage. But notice that damage isn't part of the attack, right? As far as, again, that's my understanding, right, that it is a separate damage source and not the attack itself, and so it's still considered a whiff based off of what's on the attack dice. Okay, so take it up with the rule writers or what have you if you feel that that's incorrect or what have you. But now she does her second thing, and yeah, I'm kind of screwed here. I only have 1 last block token, so that means that after the resolution of this action, Karen is actually going to have a 3rd action to perform. Okay, and because I will not be able to remove a block token, I won't have any block dice for that attack. But if I have boost dice, right, if I have a boost card in my hand and a character event card that has the little defense icon in the top left, then I can use that to defend. And surprise, surprise, I do have one of those. Okay, so right now I'm using just regular old block. I'm going to put my 2 block dice there, and Karen now is going to charge again, right? So here, charge 2, right, again, causes another collision here. And let's see, 2 dice, and it says this attack gets +1 attack die for each space the defender was moved by charge. So in this case, she is going to actually try to maximize damage a little bit by going here with the free move, because the charge will give 1 extra block die, and then the and this is where you have to kind of make your own determination of what's best. Actually, it'll probably be better the other way around, or more. And when I say better, I mean better for Karen. And so clearly they're off the map, so I'm going to start moving the map down this way. I'm not the most camera savvy here, guys, so I apologize if if you're seeing like, okay, this seems very amateurish. It is very amateurish. Yes, I concede that. Okay, so now that was the free move, and then charge 2. 1, 2. Okay, and so that means now that Karen will get to roll 4, right? 4 attack dice, but there won't be any collision. Okay, All right, so one more meter. So Karen is now at 4, so she'll be able to pull off a super eventually. All right. These dials are pretty bad, guys. So I'm noticing that it looks like the health values are changing on me. So I'll go from memory from where I think things were. Ugh, I hate doing that, but it seems to be the best option. And I'm pretty sure that Sakura was at 11 and Karen roughly at around 15. Again, guys, it's demonstration time. I'm not too worried about the exact damage here. This is not a big tournament or anything. All right, so 2 damage unless I roll 2 blocks. 1 meter, 1 block, so 1 damage. So let's say Sakura's at 10 now, and she gains 1 meter. She's now at 6. Okay, and yeah, knocked back 1 because of the word there, knocked back 1. Okay, those were the 2 attacks that Karen pulled off. But now remember, I don't have block tokens. That means she gets another attack. Okay, so all I can do is play my boost card here so that I could roll 2 dice, only 2 dice, because remember, without a block token, I can't roll any block dice at all. Okay, I'm leaving. So again, it's kind of like in Street Fighter 3 when you block too much and then all of a sudden you're kind of stunned, right? So that's kind of what that's meant to represent. So 2 dice. She needs to be within 1 range. So she uses her free movement. It's basically any time, right? Anytime, she's drawing a card, she can do that free movement. That might seem a little OP, and I might revise it in the future in terms of maybe it'll skip to step 3C, right? If you have your your little printout there, you'll see that 3C actually depletes that defense deck. So that might be a good mechanism, especially if there are multiple movements in a turn. So that might be something I consider for future versions, and you might want to play it that way yourself without waiting for me to update it. But for now, let's just play it like this. It's not that big of a deal to me. And so it's a throw. So in this particular case, it's throw 2. So it actually makes more sense if she goes here, because she could after so it looks like my whole block dice gambit was a bust, because throws negate block dice. Okay, so 2 dice, 2 fists, and then thrown here 2 spaces from Karen, throws her into the lantern. I wish I had the app running right now, because then you'd hear Karen taunting Sakura for how badly Sakura is doing. Okay, so that's 3 damage. I'm gonna say that puts, if I've been keeping track effectively here, that puts Sakura at 7. And the end is nigh unless there's a massive comeback on the horizon here. Okay, now because I used up all my block dice, if you look at the rules here, it tells you that for the block dice, it says, let's see, if a character has 0 block tokens at the beginning of his or her turn, the player or AI must lose 1 action to gain 4 block tokens. So that means I do get my 4 block tokens back, but I only have 1 action this time around. Okay. And cheese and crackers. Okay. Looks like all I got is 2 events, neither of which looks particularly great. So one of them is going to help me when I deal 2 damage, and the other one will help me when the attacker whiffs. But I'm going to end up having to use either an action to move away. I think that's probably my best bet, because it will require Sakura to come after me. Either that or draw 2 cards. I mean, yeah, you know what? The drawing 2 cards will be handy. Okay, because at least I'll have some potential to do stuff. All right, so it's back to Karen's turn. She plays a face down Gonna assume she's playing a projectile. I am incorrect. I'm not a good guesser of what's left in the deck. This one, before I discard it hastily here, it says it is an EX attack, so she will spend some meter for that. Edge 1 attack die at 1 range. So she's going to come here. She's going to roll 3 because she is going to spend some meter. And this is undefended with 3 dice. 3 fists. So now Sakura is at 4. Okay. But I do have a... Oh. Okay. And my events that I have in my hand do not help in this particular case. All right. Some of you are probably thinking, why didn't you block? You're so low in defense. You need to start blocking. You're probably right. Okay. All right. And so then for her next attack, I'm just going to commit some block dice so that when I block right now, I block with 4. So I'm going to put my 4 dice here. And because I cannot block that. Okay. And by the way, I have not really been paying attention to the linkers after the first kind of attacks or so from Karen. I haven't been paying attention to the linkers, but since I'm noticing right now, I'll demonstrate what that will look like. Okay, you always want to keep an eye on it before you roll your dice, just so you can remember, right? Like right here, there's red, and so what I would do is I would pick up the next 3 cards and just leave them face down next to that card. So I'm reminding myself, okay, after the resolution of this attack, we're going to see if those 3 cards can be tied into a max combo, okay, a sequence, which is also described in the rules. Okay, and so yeah, so like I said, I'm committing this card for defense. So this causes dash, or it is dash. She's just going to dash this way, right? And it says edge 1 attack die when the defender is adjacent to an object or wall. That won't come into play right here. This attack deals damage. Move Karen up to 1 space. So, and it'll burn 1 card from my hand because it's stunned. Okay, so 1 fist, 1 meter. This one did not use EX because it's not an EX attack. So she is back at 4. I have to lose a random one from my hand, picking one. And, oh, shoot, I forgot that I have 4 dice, right? I'm so used to failing a counterattack. But yes, so that time, actually, I did not have to discard. No stun because I took no damage. And it is a whiff, right? It is a whiff. Thank goodness it is a whiff because I do have a card in my hand that allows me, it says play when the attacker whiffs, resolve a 2 dice unblockable attack against the attacker, and then draw 1 card. So let's do that. 2 dice, 2 fists. All right. So 13. Again, I might be wrong with how much health was left, but it looks pretty good there. Okay. So, and it dealt no damage, but my attack did, and then I draw 1. Okay. We're approaching the hour. I'm going to make sure I don't go past an hour. All right. And let's see if I remember if that was a first action or the second action. I have a feeling that was a second because I'm pretty sure I failed. Yes, I failed a counter defense. Okay. All right. So that means Sakura's back up. Draw 2. Okay. Let's do this. Okay. So now what's cool is in my hand, I have a super and I have 6 meter. So I could actually use the free action so I could pull off the ultra. Right? That sounds pretty damn tempting right now. All right. You know what? I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna figure out how far away I need to be, right? Because sometimes that's, in this case, it is a -2. Okay, so I could be right there. And let's see. It does cause knockback, but there's no place I can knock Karen back that will actually cause damage. Okay, well, I'm gonna do this anyway. Because, oh, it's dash, so I won't even push her back, but it does knock back, so let's do that. So I'm gonna use my free action there after drawing my 2 cards. I'm gonna play my free action to get the 2 meter. So I'm up at 8 now. And now I will perform an ultra. Now for defense, the ultra is going to work very similar to the super, even though technically that's not the case in the real game. There is a difference there. But for the purposes of my solo mode, now the AI is going to draw from the defense, the AI defense deck draws a event, and the way that it normally would work, right? If it was not a super or not an ultra, when this card, if an event is played, it would be assigned to the character. But in this case, it simply gets discarded, and the defender here will only get to roll 2 dice. Okay, so if you're playing a human being might decide, to burn any event cards they have in their hand and may be able to roll as much as 8 dice, completely, making your ultra attack incredibly unsatisfying. But I have a feeling, I may have spoken too soon, right? Because I'm probably jinxing it. But I have a feeling this attack is going to go pretty well. So I'm going to need 6 attack dice per Sakura's Ultra. It's going to cause knockback 2 and mix-up 2. So I'll be able to have the AI re-roll 2 dice. And then Sakura will be able to move 2 after that. Okay, let's do it. So this is not 6 dice. Oh, yes, it is. This is 6 dice. My eyes are playing tricks on me. And let's see what we got. Okay, and remember that meter counts as fists during ultra. So, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 damage with knockback, right? And then the 2 defense dice. There is a meter and a shield. I'm going to have her re-roll the shield. Actually, just the shield, because it would be kind of silly. Okay, good. So did not block any of it, but she did gain a meter. And that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage. So you could see how the tide can change pretty quickly here. It wasn't looking good for Sakura, but now it's 4 health to Sakura to 6 health from Karen. Again, notwithstanding any errors I may have made in moving the dial unintentionally earlier. Okay. All right. And then the Ultra says that Sakura can move up to 2 spaces now. And that is fantastic, because I now have another card I could potentially play. Okay, hold on one second. And that card is a Hadouken. If I'm at 4 range, I get an edge die, and I don't have any meter. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that extra die will come in handy. Now remember that now I check my little AI defense sequence, right? Oops, just dropped a tree without intending to. And I'm going to notice that it says when the player plays a face down card and the AI character has suffered damage this turn, the AI draws a card from the defense deck, right? So I can't be countered this time around, which is fantastic. This is where a focus attack would be great. But let's see what I'm able to pull off here, okay? So she picks up an event card. So she'll be able to get that boost to defense, but that means she also has to spend a block token to do that. Okay. And earlier, I believe she had to block right now. Yes, she did block earlier, so that means she's actually spent 2. Okay, and then let's roll my Hadouken with my 3 dice from the edge. And earlier, you'll remember I forgot to follow up with the counter. So Sakura would likely already be defeated as a result of the combos. But again, this is demonstration. I want to keep this to about an hour, so I'm fine with that. Okay, and that does 1, 2, 3, 4 damage, unless, of course, she can defend with these 4 dice. 1, 2, 3, 4. And yes, indeed, she does. Okay. Now, this card that was drawn right now from Karen instantly becomes assigned, right? So not only is she getting the 2 bonus for defense, but she also gets the to use the effect of that card whenever, immediately, right? That's the wording I have in the handout there, in the printout. Immediately when the requirement is met. In this case, it's a response. Play when an attacker whiffs, which I just did, while they are within range 3. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So I don't meet that. Thank goodness I moved that 1 space, because now it negates that. So it's still going to be assigned. Okay. And that probably would have ended Sakura's fight, because it would have been a 3 unblockable. And as you can imagine, that would not go very well. Okay. All right. Let's draw one for Karen. And let's see here what happens. I'm just going to block, so I have to spend another block token to do that. It's a special, charge 1, so she has to move her movement anyway, and then she will just charge 1. Okay, and it causes knockback, so it'll knock Sakura into the wall. So let's roll 3. 1 meter. So that puts Sakura at 6 meter, I believe. And 1 damage if I don't block 1. And I block 1, so she whiffs. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't have anything, okay, that would help me. All right, so whiffed on that attack. And now I will block again. We're getting to that point of the game where I have such low defense that I'm better off just blocking. And you know what? I'm going to play this so that I can block with 4 dice. Actually, you know what? If I survive this, I might be able to knock her out if I can play that as a free action. So I'm actually going to just block normally. Okay, and then she plays her card. Okay, it is an EX attack. So it's going to spend some meter for 3 dice. Edge 1 attack die at 3 range. So she will try to get back to 3 range with her free movement that she gets. Again, remember that that's something we can work on for future versions to revise, to make it at least a little punishing and burning that defense deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is a lot. Okay, remember 1 for EX, 1 for edge, so that's why it's 4 dice. And then defense, 1 shield, 1 meter. That is not enough. That's enough for Karen to knock out poor Sakura. Okay, thank you guys for watching. I'll have some opportunities to answer questions in the comment section, but hopefully this helped you to kind of get a sense of how it works. Sorry I didn't explain the combos that well, but hopefully maybe I can do that at some other time. Thanks.